And still, the Pittsburgh Steelers have yet to beat Philadelphia and Philly since 1965.
But in good news, the Steelers have clinched the playoffs. They will see January football. Huge shout out to the Texans and huge shout out to the Broncos for helping the Steelers win, even though they lost today. So, you got to take the good with the L.
Ain't it great that Denver helped out their old quarterback into the postseason?
Appreciate it.
Ain't it great?
Not only that, but they're paying him $30-something million, whatever the price is.
Thank you, Denver.
Unbelievable stuff, man.
Thank you.
That's hostility.
No, but, they have clinched a playoff berth. They will see January football. But they did lose to the Philadelphia Eagles here in this game, 27-13. How you feeling?
It's a tough loss, man. It's tough because they had a chance. They had a chance in the third quarter, bro. Their first drive coming out of the second half, right? Their first drive coming out of the second half, and they got aggressive. They did a flea flicker to Calvin Austin. They had 2 good runs from Warren and Najee.
If you're not down with that,
Perfect timing with a 199.
What's worse, the toss or the jet sweep?
How about both?
Is both an answer?
Both is not good.
Well, for the subject of today, the toss is worse because
The
perfect
toss,
timing.
The toss is the new jet sweep.
It is.
Can we ban tosses from the playbook completely?
Can we rip that from Arthur Smith's playbook?
Can we abolish that play entirely from Steelers history?
It is a play that is so unsuccessful but so repetitive. It is literally the new jet sweep. And it cost us this game because they were going down the field. Their first drive in the second half, they're going down the field. They're down 1 score, right? The Eagles get a field goal. They're down 1 score. They go down the drive. They go down the field. They're driving down the field. They run a toss play. Najee muffs the toss. He fumbles it. The Eagles recover. The Eagles respond with a tush-push touchdown to Jalen Hurts, leading to the end score here.
Yeah.
That essentially killed it. That was absolutely a heart crusher, dude. It's literally as if it's like that scene from The Frighteners where the Grim Reaper is going into your heart, squeezing it and killing you from within.
Yeah, sure.
That's what it felt like to me. It's like all the hope that we had in pulling off an upset, and we were so close. It ended with that.
And you can probably tell in the tone of our voice, it was really the start of what drained us from this game completely. Now, first and foremost, Najee should have concentrated on the ball first. If you were to look at the replay, Najee was focusing on making the play, not grabbing the ball and carrying the ball, handling the ball. He didn't do a good job at that. He should have made that his first priority, then focus on going forward.
Well, in my opinion, before you continue, that play is 100% on Najee. You do not fumble the handoff. How many times have they ran that this year?
That's why I say first and foremost.
Najee,
But the problem is that how many times do they do the toss and it's successful when it comes to the Steelers?
not very.
Not very. On a rare occasion. I feel like once every 8 times they do it.
It's repetitive.
That they are successful at it, but yes, it's repetitive.
It's repetitive and it's unsuccessful, but at the same time, it's on Najee. You don't fumble the handoff. You don't fumble the toss.
I put on Najee completely. He should have concentrated on grabbing the ball and make sure that he had it in possession, full possession.
It sucks because Najee's been having such a good year, and because of that, it literally eventually killed the game for us. It killed all momentum. It killed any chance of the Steelers coming back. And the Steelers still had a chance to come back, right? Because they had the ball with, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, something like that. It's 4th and 7. They're down by 2 scores. The end score here. They're down 2 scores. They got 10-something minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's 4th and 7. Mike Tomlin punts it. Why are you punting it? You can't get 7 yards.
And it's not like that they were pinned down deep in their own territory. No, they were past midfield. They were near the 45-yard line.
They were right at midfield, essentially. And instead of going for it and thinking, hey, you know what? We got all 3 timeouts. We got 10 minutes. We are down by 2 scores. Let's go for it. Let's try to make the first. Let's try to make this within 1 score. Instead, Tomlin gives up. He gave up.
He showcased what he did several times last year, and that's just give up. They were down a big deficit. It was 4th down. Instead of trying to stay within the game, trying to stay within reach and keep it competitive and keep the game close, Tomlin ultimately chose to punt it.
Those 2 plays killed us in the second half.
if you're not down with that, we've got 2 words
Dirty
you.
Details with a 499 says Najee bad timing, 3 points off 2 turnovers in the first half is unacceptable. Defense secondary played soft. On to the Ravens. All love Steeler fam. Yeah, I mean, we'll get into all that because the offense, that's another thing that really hurt this team. Well, yeah, the second half, dude, the offense, if I'm correct, the complete time of possession that the offense had in the second half was a total of 5 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah, Eagles just controlled the game, controlled time of possession. They were just methodical in the second half. They wanted to end the game and get the hell out of there.
When Tomlin elected to punt the ball and the Eagles got the ball back, they drained the rest of the game, which was 10 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
The Steelers never got the ball back after punting.
Steelers only had 2 drives in the second half.
The Eagles dominated the Steelers in a lot of aspects. Time of possession, they dominated the secondary because nobody could stop anybody. A.J. Brown cooked. Devonta Smith cooked. Jalen Hurts had probably his best game all season. He had 108 yards versus Carolina last week. He had almost 300 today.
To go along with 3 total touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, who both had over 100 yards in this game. And, of course, his typical rushing touchdown from the tush push, is it called? The
Yes.
tush push.
Yes.
Which is, typical.
And here's the thing. He didn't have Barkley most of the game. Barkley came in late to kill the clock and close the game out. He mostly had Gainwell as his running back.
Yeah. Coming into this game, we looked at Barkley as the number 1 priority to try to stop and limit just based off, how the season went on for Philly because Barkley, he's just running away with the rushing title. The guy had just been out of his mind, playing out of his mind and running over people, hurling people backwards and whatnot, like typical Barkley style.
Right.
Like Barkley's just been on another level this year. So we looked at Barkley to slow
If
down.
you're not down with that,
Gabe Davis with a
we've
499.
got 2 words for
The
you.
fumble made me think, how about roll out to Washington? Very successful play. That's Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith and his play calling was really rough today. A lot of the coaching decisions today were really bad. The player personnel, the play calling, Tomlin not going for it on 4th down, it goes to show you, it was a total team loss in a lot of ways. But, to your point, they game planned against Barkley. They underestimated Hurts.
Yeah.
Hurts particularly didn't have a great season this year going into this game. He had his best game today. The team underestimated Hurts in his passing ability. He had his best game all season as a quarterback. Brown and Smith both had over 100 yards.
They had no answers for Hurts, no answers for Brown, no answer for Smith.
JPJ sucks. He sucks. Dante Jackson sucks. He can't tackle worth nothing. He can't cover right now.
Both those guys are not lockdown cover guys. At least not recently. Not recently.
Our secondary can't cover nobody.
Dude, the secondary is soft.
They can't cover an Eskimo in a blanket in an igloo.
And the secondary can't even tackle at that. Our best tackler has been Deshaun Elliott, and he was out in this game. But even then, he couldn't really save us in this one. Let's be real.
No. The
Even
secondary,
he couldn't save us.
the secondary remains suspect. Hurts killed us. And frankly, the offense didn't help themselves because they started too slow. By the time they tried to make a deficit, they were within 1 score. Twice, actually. But they started too slow. The offense started too slow. The secondary couldn't stop Hurts. The secondary couldn't stop anything, really. And frankly, the turnover towards, the Najee turnover in the second half really essentially put the nail on the coffin. But even through all that, they kept it within reach, which goes to show you some level of competitive nature with the Steelers. Granted, they still got blown out. They still lost by two scores today, but they kept it within reach. And just a fumble by Najee really put the nail in everything. Bad coaching decisions followed. The defense couldn't get the Eagles off of the field. It was just a dominating win by the Eagles. The Eagles absolutely just won the game in every aspect. Every aspect except the turnover ratio. Because the Steelers, they had 2 fumbles, back-to-back fumble recoveries.
in the first quarter.
And they only got 3 points off of it. 3. That's it. TJ Watt had back-to-back sacks towards the end of the first half. The Steelers could only get 3 points off of that.
Nope.
They couldn't capitalize on much. The little plays that the defense made today or that special teams made today, the offense still couldn't capitalize. That goes to show you this entire team just wasn't prepared. They weren't ready. And yes, they were without some playmakers. They were without Pickens. They were without Larry O. They were without Elliott. And they kept it as close as they did at a certain time. But they didn't step up when they needed to. The defense couldn't get the Eagles off the field. They couldn't get the offense the ball back. And the offense, when they had the ball, they couldn't get in the end zone. They couldn't get down the field as much.
No, not at all.
Just a rough loss.
No.
I'm not going to overreact about this loss. It is out of conference. It is pretty much, I don't want to say meaningless because I still want to win. And I'm not going to accept a loss, especially with how heartbreaking it was. But this was out of conference. It doesn't mean too much in the grand scheme of things, but it's still a bad loss.
I mean, it leaves you questioning, just based on how everything went down and the mistakes that kept piling on later into the game and what ultimately led to the loss and how the coaches, took to it, how they reacted with their play calls and Tomlin's decision to punt it, and how they didn't really showcase their resiliency enough to even remain in the game, even with the mistakes that kept piling on. That leaves you the question, once January football comes, is this a potential outcome? Because that's the fear in the back of my mind.
Yeah, is this going to be their approach when the playoffs hit? Is this going to be rinse and repeat? Is this going to be one and done all over again?
I don't want to say that this is a glimpse down to January football because that's been the case for several years now. Steelers have yet to win a playoff game since 2016, and we didn't even score a touchdown in that one. Remember that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to say that this is a glimpse, but that's my fear. That is my fear because I've seen it too often.
No, you're not wrong.
And I hope that this game, based off what we've seen, is not the case because I don't want that to be the case. I don't want to say that. I don't want to sound like that, but that is my fear.
Right.
I'm just throwing it out there.
No, you have every right to feel that way because if they go in with a similar approach, if they go in with a similar mindset, they're not going to have the playoff push that we know this team can have when they get fully healthy.
Because we stated all season that this team is different compared to years previously.
It is. It is. And as close as they kept it at a certain point without Pickens and without Elliott and without Larry O, I feel like that gives a little glimpse of what this team can do. I really do. It's just that fumble really just ended it for us, essentially. A lot of factors came into it later and before, but that fumble really just killed everything.
And
right?
again, yes, I do put it on Najee, but I also partially put it on Smith because at a time like that, when they're getting down the field, they're doing a very progressive and promising drive. And then at that time, that's when Smith calls a toss play when those never work in the system. They never work with this offense.
And then again, when you come down to a point in the fourth quarter when you got the ball, you're down by 2, it's a fourth down situation, and you don't go for it at that time. And then again, the Eagles just run the rest of the clock out. Steelers never got the ball back.
Never.
But it's just one of those games where I'm not going to overreact about it because the team, hopefully they get healthier. They can clean up some of these mistakes, and they get ready for AFC North football on Saturday versus the Ravens, where if the Steelers win, I believe they clinch the division.
And that's what's really going to matter the most right here. Not just that game. We're going to take it one game at a time, but the rest of the season, because the rest of the season is of AFC Conference.
Right.
And it starts with the Ravens.
And
it's going to be on a short week, too, because we do play Saturday.
I know. And I'm not going to react too much about this because it's out of conference, and we were without certain playmakers. But the errors are just one of those things where it piled up on us, and it came back on us real bad because the Eagles took advantage, and they dominated the Steelers in every aspect.
Yeah.
But hopefully the team can get healthier. We'll get Pickens back, maybe Elliott for sure, maybe Larry O. And God, please, I hope TJ Watt is as healthy as he can be because he exited the game with what Tomlin has said has been a low ankle sprain, which is good news. It's not a high ankle sprain. It's a low ankle sprain. Best case scenario. Well, that's just the initial prognosis. They'll do MRIs. They'll do all the tests they need to do tomorrow to get an actual prognosis on his, availability.
Yeah, because I mean, it's obvious already, but if we don't have Watt for these final stretch of the games, I mean, it's just going to be even more impossible for the Steelers to try to etch out victories. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because Watt is just that important. He's showcasing this game.
Well, Watt is walking under his own power in the locker room. No boots or crutches, according to Alexis.
It's great to see. It's great to see.
That's a great update. Best case scenario for TJ Watt. Hopefully he'll be there for the Ravens. This team, just get healthy and get ready and clean up some of these mistakes, and let's get going for the conference games because right now is when important football really starts to kick off.
Yeah. Just live and learn. Just get back into the film room. Just study. Just get back on the practice field. Just work on your errors. Work on your mistakes.
Yep.
Coaching. Just get better. Get better with your playbooks. Get better with your game preparation. Because a game like this against an out of conference team, again, we said this about the Browns game. Maybe this is a wake-up call that they need, but, like, man, like, we got to work on some things. Like, we're in the final stretch of the season.
'cause they're going
we
up
have to
against-
get better. We
going-
have to be better.
They're going up against a legitimate squad like that, and this is how they execute. Hopefully, this is the wake-up call where they're like, this is against legitimate competition. This is against an elite. This is against a Super Bowl contender. They got to be better.
And
they
NFC
gotta get
juggernaut at that.
They got to get healthier, but they got to be better. So, like you said, maybe similar to that Browns game, this is what they need to just improve, and they'll attack the Ravens game with a better mindset and better preparation.
And hopefully we can look back at this game and be like, okay, like, they learned from this. They got better from this. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm hopeful for, because, again, this team has done it in the past this season. It's different from previous years. This loss doesn't exactly feel like a blowout loss from previous years. It sure looks like one, and the mistakes that they made sure are resemblances of that. But to me, it doesn't feel like the blowouts from previous years or even just last year. It's out of conference. It's a devastating loss. It's heartbreaking because they were close to coming back, but let's now get ready. Let's move on. Let's prepare. Let's clean up the mistakes, and let's move on to the Ravens. Right now, we are on to the Ravens. We are on to Baltimore. We are all focused. We are all locked in on AFC North, on clinching the AFC North. That's all we're focused on now. The Eagles, good win by the Eagles, devastating loss by the Steelers, but they're in the rear view. We got to look ahead. We got to clean up. We got to get healthy, and we got to approach and try to beat the Ravens, man. Sweep the Ravens and clinch the division and get as high of a seeding as we can.
Indeed, brother.
Right now, the rest of our schedule is AFC North. It is conference battles. That's all I'm worried about. Clinch the division and then worry about seeding. That's where we got to stand now. That's what the Steelers got to do. They got to take this loss. They got to better themselves, and then they got to approach these last 3 games as strong and as healthy as they can. So
Let's get at it, man. Let's attack it.
it's a tough loss, but this team can rebound. This team can grow from this. I'm confident they will. The leadership, and as healthy as they're going to get, I think we'll be fine. I don't think this is going to lead to a losing streak. I don't think this is going to lead to a downfall. And I hope this sure as hell isn't a sneak peek of the playoffs.
No, again, that's the fear in the back of my mind. I just hope that isn't reality. And I don't want that to be reality come January, because I want this team to showcase that this is different. And we've stated all season that this team is different compared to years previously. They just have to go out there and prove it once again.
Right.
You still have to prove it game after game, snap after snap, play after play, time after time.
Well, Steelers are in the playoffs. They lose, but they're in the playoffs. Now, it's time to clinch the division. We're on to that now.
So here we go, Steelers.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys for watching. Let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments, in the chat, man. Steelers lose, but they win because they get into the playoffs. Ravens, you're in our way now. AFC North, that is our goal. That is our crown to take, to wear. That is our mindset. That is our outlook now. AFC North football, Saturday night. Ravens, we'll see you then.
Lamar, we're coming for you.
See you guys in the next one. Here we go, Steelers.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!